Welcome in, Boutique Hotel Nation, to another episode of the unofficial Boutique Hotels podcast. My name is Adam Walz, and with me, as always, Micah Thomas, my Mister from another sister. How you doing, Micah?
It's another day in paradise, Adam. So happy to be here. I feel like we got some good stuff to talk about today. Without further ado, let's jump right in. I think we have some good news to announce. We came up with the official name for the hotel. And
Oh,
there's a such a large amount of background on this name. I think it's really a good fit. It's really what the town or the city kind of stands for. So. I would love to have you introduce the new name of our hotel.
yeah, nice. So that's fantastic, and that might be a reason for people to stick around for a couple minutes. So I want to tease them a little bit, like and
Okay,
subscribe and
yeah,
do all the
yeah,
things. But I think every new boutique hotel owner is faced with this choice, right? Okay, you found something that you like, you've underwritten it, you put together kind of your capital stack, so the mix of debt and equity to take down this property. Again, we're hoping maybe mid to late November we get keys and we close and it's our hotel. And I think this is very one of the very first conversations from a branding, marketing, identity conversation is, do you leave the name of the hotel in place? And by the way, shout out to Greg Clark. He was mentioning in our community, he's facing this as well, right? He's buying a place in Montana. He's like, it's named City Name Inn. And I kind of like that, that if people were searching on Google or Google Maps or something like that, great SEO, et cetera. I feel like the name of our hotel, maybe we don't quite reveal that yet, but it's pretty SEO optimized, right?
yep,
But it also feels pretty old school. And I think you and I from day one, especially because of maybe some weaker reviews and just maybe to distance ourselves a bit from the product of old, decided to kind of name it with a more modern, hip, kind of boutique name, kind of I think what we're doing is like reviving a property. We're rejuvenating, giving it kind of second legs. So I was really interested in, and we saw several examples in the Boutique Hotel Secrets community where people were kind of doing the blank, like the shipyard, the
right.
fill in the blank. The Cove is Mike Sjogren's first boutique hotel. So anyways, maybe before we reveal the name of our hotel, like anything else you want to go over about like why does this matter? Like, why should new boutique hotel operators care about something as simple as a name?
Yeah, that's a really good point. If you just think about SEO and just like trying to appear in the top rankings of Google and searches, if somebody looks at a hotel in whatever city, you want to make sure that they're able to come across yours. If yours is kind of the hotel, well, there's a million hotels in the world, and it's really hard to rank high. But I think just allowing yourself to kind of have the best chance when you're ranking among these other properties is really good. And then you think about branding. What do you want the property to stand for? What do you want people to think about when they see the name of your hotel? So there's a lot of things to take into consideration when you're naming the hotel, and we maybe are thinking about this a little bit more than we could or should, but I think that it's a big deal, and I don't want to rush into a name. I want something that has character, something that we're proud to say and speak about, and not just your standard run-of-the-mill hotel. And that's partially the story behind a boutique hotel. There's a story,
Yeah.
there's a meaning, there's some curated experience that you're trying to create for guests. So if we just named it blank hotel or hotel, there's no story behind that. It's a cookie cutter product that you can get anywhere in the world. So we are definitely taking our time. And even though we came up with the name, we're also facing another issue coming up with our holding company, which we'll get
Yeah.
into a little bit later.
Yep. 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 Yep.
So I'm proud that we've been able to come up with a name, and I think that the name really personifies the type of product we want to provide, and the type of experience guests will have when they're staying at the hotel. So,
Yeah.
um,
That's
yeah,
great.
tell me
Well,
tell
look,
me your thoughts about that.
yeah, no, I think you're right on. I think you're right on. And the other maybe comment here is you could sit in a room with friends and whiteboard stuff. That's helpful. I think brainstorming and getting lots of ideas on the table is
For
good.
sure.
Certainly, we used our friend ChatGPT just to throw things out and go, okay, we're considering doing kind of a barrel sauna and cold plunges and outdoor showers. Like, could we lean in a little heavier to the wellness? So, what would it look
Yeah.
like if our hotel was a little bit more oriented towards resetting, rejuvenation? We think of our mentor, Joel Weigel. Hey, happy marriage day, buddy. So he's out there in Lake Como getting
It,
hitched.
oh
But,
yeah.
his hotel is called the Missing Hotel because, and he really was trying to speak to, within all of this, there's a missing piece. And so your chance to kind of come off property, to step out of your life for a second and just reconnect with yourself, reconnect with nature, reconnect with loved ones. I think there's something very powerful about storytelling in this space. So, anyways, we looked at wellness, we looked at kind of like adventure, we looked at kind of the van life community, like kind of like, are
Yep.
we drifters? Are we nomads? Are we, is it kind of this dusty Southwest I can't see? I've been to Burning Man and there's sand in my eyes. So, anyways, like there's lots of names that came out there, but what ended up happening, and maybe advice to new seekers, is we just kind of put our antennas up. We kept experimenting, trying on new names. A lot of them were kind of like okay, but it actually happened when we were at the Lake Powell Canyon Dam, and we were walking around a museum, and we're thinking like, is it going to be kind of like Navajo based? Is it going to
Right.
be like, how can we pay homage to this area and the story in the past? And it kind of hit us on one of the exhibits. It was John Wesley Powell. And I'd never knew that John Powell, that's Lake
A
Powell. I
legend.
didn't know anything about his story. But it turns out like our hotel's on Powell Road, like Main and Main, basically.
Exactly.
We're across from City Hall downtown. And why was it named Lake Powell? And so, anyways, the word that stuck out to us though, rather than the Lake Powell Hotel, was the Wesley. And man,
Yep.
when we said it, it just, I don't know, something, it felt right. It felt timeless. It felt classic. It felt sophisticated. It felt like if you see a picture of this dude, it looks like he's been in the wilderness for 900 years. Like he is a grizzled dude.
He's an
But the more we
outdoorsman.
kept but the more we kept reading about him, right? Like, do you remember some of the stories or some of the like factoids about this guy's life?
Absolutely. So, I mean, he was a pioneer. He was he so many things. He fought in the Civil War, a philosopher. I think he taught at some point in his career. He lost part of his right arm while he was in the Civil War. But he was pretty much put out on a task to discover more of the Colorado River. And I think the remarkable part of this story, and you fill in where you see fit, but the most remarkable part for me is he was gone for 18 days. They wrote him and his crew's obituary because they thought that he died trying to discover more of the Colorado River. And then he just comes out on the other side, like, yeah, I'm back from my journey. I didn't die, but I did find out that the Colorado River spans into like all of these long legs of lakes. So it's just it's remarkable in that sense. I think it really speaks to his kind of grit and his ambition to kind of go and do things that nobody before him has done, and come out kind of a good person and a symbol on the other side.
Yeah.
So, what do you see that stands out most to you about John Wesley Powell?
Yeah, I think, again, grew up on the eastern side. I think he was from New York, like
I
early
believe so.
days as like a teenager or in his 20s, and he's like navigated the entire Mississippi River from like the top to the bottom. Like, what? Who does that? Then he does it like in Ohio. He does it in like other places. And then eventually Grover Cleveland was like, hey, we need to understand, and go kind of map out the Colorado and Green Rivers and the Grand Canyon. And he was the first kind of non-indigenous person to do that. So you're exactly
Yeah,
right. Pioneer is kind of like one of the words that I first associate with him, like doing hard things where other people hadn't gone there before. So when I think
yeah,
of like myself as kind of an entrepreneur, I know others have carved this path. There are other hotels out there, other people have made career pivots, but I don't have a boss for the first time in my life at 44 years of age, and it's pretty wild. So some days I love that kind of adventurous spirit the entrepreneurial, he created the map. Most of us look for the map and go,
Yep.
you know,
Yep.
how do we get from point A to point B? But we kind of sometimes forget that there was a man or a woman before us that mapped all of those routes. And I think he lost men, on
Yep.
the trek. I think it was like a 3 month journey or something. But yeah, you're exactly right. They're waiting with ribbons and confetti and the old timey photographs to like put this dude in the newspaper, and he doesn't show up.
Yep.
And then they wait a day and he doesn't show up. And then they wait another day. And like they literally wait so long that they published his obituary. It was like, damn, like he was a good dude. Like what a G.
He
But like,
meant well.
yeah, I'm sorry, we lost a guy. That's
Yeah.
why like it's hard to do the and then he appeared, he just like
Yep.
walked out of the bushes. And so anyways,
Exactly.
I think you're exactly right. He's a pioneer, he's resilient, he's gritty, and most importantly, he's of the place. Like, if
Exactly.
I'm from South Dakota, so if we tried to name a hotel in South Dakota the Wesley, like people would be like, what's going on? Like, what's the story here? So he's not some fictional persona or something like that. He's a real person from this real location, this
Yep.
time and place that literally, I don't know, it kind of it holds in this rich story and everything that's happened kind of since then. So I'm
Yeah.
stoked about it, and it just I don't know, it sounds right. It's like the first time I heard my son's name, we were looking at a list of, wow, my wife's got her names, I've got my names, we've got a
Yeah.
kid. How do
Yeah.
we do this? And Oliver was just, I don't know, for whatever reason, it worked for both of us. And now
I
I
love
can't,
it.
I can't imagine him being named something else. So
I love
that's
it.
kind of how I feel about our hotel.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. When we both said the name, we were talking and we're like, yeah, that fits. Like that name fits for this area, for our hotel, for what we're trying to do. And one of the biggest man-made lakes, like in the world, Lake Powell, was named after him. And that's one of the main reasons people go to Page, Arizona, is to get onto Lake Powell or look at Lake Powell in some form or fashion. So it's only right that we pay homage some type of way to not only Lake Powell, but John Wesley Powell.
You,
So,
you want to real quick? It's kind of a fun aside, but you had
yeah.
sent me an Instagram story of a guy
Oh
that
yeah.
literally swam Lake Powell. Can you just
Oh
give
yeah.
listeners, if they're interested, they can check this guy out. But he
Yeah,
did
for
something
sure.
that no one's ever done. Like right in our backyard, which I think is
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. Uh, I believe it was 140 miles this guy swam over the course of 10 days with 200 pounds worth of gear. Now, of course, he's got it on a board and he's got water working on his side, but he swam about 14 miles a day, documented his entire journey. We might have to put his Instagram in the show notes or
Yep.
something like that. But the ironic thing is he was doing it while we were in town. So we were like tracking his journey. It's like day two, day three. He had just gotten started. It rained for the first time in like months in Page, Arizona. So that was like this weird kind of plot twist he had to the story where you don't ever really anticipate rain in the desert, but it happened during his 10-day journey. But yeah, he managed to be the first person to swim all the way across Lake Powell, 140 miles, which is located in Page, Arizona. So
Oof.
it's again such a remarkable story. I feel like we can go on and on about not only the history of Page, but even like the things that people do when they come to Page, the things that they see, Antelope Canyon, Horseshoe Bend, the list goes on and on.
But that's
Um,
great. Like, how many lakes do you know that are 140 miles long?
no,
So that just gives again, it's more canyony than like a big giant circle, like Lake
yeah,
Michigan or something. But yeah, a 49-year-old guy, Shane Schiffer from Colorado, did it in
nice,
10 days. And it was kind of funny because I think on last week's podcast, we talked about Alex Ramosi saying people cheer when you start and people cheer when you finish. And that's
exactly,
exactly what
exactly,
this guy got. And
yeah,
so I want to definitely give him flowers, but man, like it is about the journey. And I know that he's got to feel just an immense amount of pride, but I'm sure there are moments of fear and doubt and
absolutely,
what did I get myself into? And I'm way over my
yeah,
head. Your body's sending all these red signals, that like we should quit, we should stop. And by the way, it's kind of a little bit of a metaphor for entrepreneurs. And I don't know if you felt any of that along the ride here, but
oh my
like
gosh,
sometimes I'm like, hey, Micah, when does our money go hard? Oh, okay,
yeah,
October.
yeah,
Should we just maybe lick our
it gets
wounds and
dark.
like get out? Maybe,
It
maybe
gets
this is a
dark.
fun story and we look for a different deal. But I don't know.
Absolutely. I mean, it's the thing that comes to mind for me is like you got to enjoy the journey, and sometimes the journey is more important than a destination.
Yeah.
Because I feel like we've both just transformed into much better individuals, even from not even just the beginning of this deal, but joining the mastermind, being around people who
Yeah.
were doing what we already wanted to do. Um, and just, I feel like we've learned so much from terms to underwriting to kind of what to look for in properties. And there's still so much to learn. It can be overwhelming at times. And sometimes it can be very energizing. And you get that validation that you're really doing the right thing. And people kind of give you props for that. So, yep, I would say for sure several times I've thought, we don't have to keep doing this. This is undue stress. We don't have to put ourselves through. Like you said, let's lick our wounds. Let's get out of here before our money goes hard. But I mean, nobody's going to give you credit for giving
Yeah.
up, and I think both of us would be kind of remiss if we were to give up being so close to the finish line. But that's not
Yeah.
to say those thoughts definitely don't pass through our minds.
Well, this is a great segue about, I mean, it's a small example, but right now we just talked with our SEC attorney last week. So Gene Trowbridge, we can give him a shout out. And again, if anyone's looking to do what we're doing, set up a PPM, private placement Miranda. They're going to raise money and syndicate. That's really anytime more than two people are coming together, pooling their resources, have an expectation of a profit, and they're not the driver of that profit. They're giving that to a manager or a general partner to do the work. That's a syndication. And you basically have a security whether you know it or not. And so there are rules that govern if you have an offering and how you approach investors. And so certainly we've learned a lot about that over the past couple months. Um, and we made a decision to not go the family and friends route, but to go the 506C so that we can kind of more easily publicly talk about that. Now, the one restriction is we can only work with accredited investors, and there's a little bit more of a verification process where people might need to upload more documents rather than self-certify. All that to say, again, in talking with him and setting up our operating agreements, okay, what's your capital structure? Who has X percent of equity? And the conversation came up, okay, we're going to create a property LLC that's going to hold the asset and basically hold all of the money and kind of secure investors' positions. And then you guys are going to create kind of an operating or a holding company that has an agreement with the property company. So, what do you want that to be called? And initially it was just like, well, do we just do like our initials or just some benign, Micah and Adam Capital Group or AMI Capital or, something, I don't know, kind of backgroundy and just very legal. But the more we got into it, we're like, actually, this might actually be an opportunity for us to be a little bit more thoughtful about what maybe a hospitality brand might look like, and or if we're able to succeed in our vision or our goal, which is to acquire and reposition 3 boutique hotels over 5 years. What's the connection? What's the connective thread? What's the collection or the umbrella brand that kind of owns multiple assets? So
Yeah.
anyways, you had some ideas, I had some ideas. We haven't talked about this kind of since we were texting last night, but I thought it might be interesting just to kind of share real time our latest thinking for the name of our operating company and why we even care.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a good point because this is the brand. And if we want to grow and we want to be able to speak about our brand, it'll be the Wesley by the brand. It'll be the
Mhm.
next hotel by the brand. So this is something that we really want to get right. Again, maybe we're putting too much thought into it, and this much thought doesn't need to go into it. But I think we're very thought-provoking people, and we want to make decisions based off of some general knowledge and like research instead of just kind of pulling something out of thin air. So we threw around some names, like you said, last night or the other day, and just it's hard again to arrive at a name, but I think we continue to brainstorm and throw things at the wall until something sticks and we can say, that does make sense because, in my head, not only is this just a brand for our hotels, but maybe even a wing of the podcast and other business ventures that we get into,
Yep.
we can attach our brand to it. So I want to be very thought provoking, and I don't want to seem too corporate where it sounds like you're going to a bank in a tall building, or you have to fill out 12 documents to get access to a subscription or whatever the case is.
Right.
So I just I want it to be playful and maybe a little bit punchliney, but not be taken as a joke as well. So there's a million words that can be used, but we just got to find one that makes the most sense for us.
Yep,
So,
yep. What was your first one? Was it the Murata group? Something like that?
Murata.
Yeah, which
Yep,
I
Murata.
immediately interpreted as Miranda, by the way. I'm sending him Sex in the City gifts of
Oh
Miranda,
my
like
God.
drinking sassy cocktails. But Murata, it's a Spanish word, right?
It is like a vision or to be able to
Hmm.
see. So it has a great meaning, but if people at first glance think it's the Miranda group and they see two guys, one from Philly, the other from South Dakota, they're gonna be like, these guys are into some weird stuff. So I
Man,
think
get the we need to read the Miranda rights, to these
exactly,
things.
exactly. So I can see how on first, I mean, and these are the same conversations I feel like people have about
Yeah,
children as well. They're
yeah,
like, okay, what are their friends going to call them? What's the teacher going to call them if they can't pronounce the name or they see it at first glance? So
yep,
I think it's only right that we kind of go through the process and
yep.
say the word and read the word and see what it looks like on a big sign, so on and so forth. So,
Totally,
um,
totally. And
but
it's
then
a
yeah, you came back and you.
well, let's see. Yeah, I mean, I was talking with my wife last night. Again,
Yeah.
she's a lot smarter than me. She's an MBA in strategic marketing, so this works. She was at Google for a while, so I'm like, okay, like I'm an HR guy turned hospitality, so like
Yeah.
naming's probably not my strength. I'm a pretty creative guy. I'm a pretty funny guy. I feel like I've got decent intuition and design, but anyways, my conversation with ChatGPT, it was kind of like no vacancy company, or like
Yeah.
pillow
Yeah.
fight, or some playful thing off of hospitality or motels, or and I don't know, I started to kind of um like some of the words around kind of almost, not resurrection's the wrong word, but like revival,
Yeah.
restoring,
Redemption.
rejuvenating. My wife was coming up with ideas around like phoenix rising from the ash, or like caterpillars like transforming. So there's a little
Yeah.
bit of a, we're buying a dated deferred maintenance thing that I'm sure when it came out in 1965 would have been awesome.
Creme
But
de la creme.
after, several decades of just deferred maintenance, like it has turned from an A class property to whatever it is today, C or
Yeah.
D. There's a lot that needs to be done to this,
Yeah.
but we could maybe bring it back, right? And so that's where, and I think the other hook for me was thinking about our own stories. In a perfect world, like we're able to see ourselves in
Yeah.
this. And so
Yeah.
my pitch to Micah, and I know he was like, I'm not sold, but my pitch was comeback hospitality. And I'll tell you why. Comeback, I like, as a little bit of a double entendre of we want people to come back, quite
Yeah.
literally.
Yeah.
Number two, it's easy for international travelers. My wife, she's from Vietnam. English is a second language. She can easily pronounce it. She sees it and immediately knows how to say it. So there's a little bit of simplicity and immediate name recognition. And number three, the tie-ins to us, because we're going, man, what does a kid from South Dakota and a kid from Philly have in common? Comeback from Philly. Come on, an athlete from Philly coming back.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. There's one guy that maybe comes to
He,
mind on top
he
of a
may be Rocky. I
staircase.
don't I don't know. I don't know.
Maybe,
Might be Rocky.
possibly. So, anyways, I like it because it connects to Philly. I thought that was
Yeah.
cool. And
Yeah.
then comeback also for me is my team. I was a tech worker last year, and my entire team was let go, right? We had stable jobs. I'd given everything to this company. I loved what I did. I got to lead manager enablement for Autodesk, which was a really cool job. Met some incredible engineers, just some wonderful leaders, and I didn't want to go. And it
Yeah.
literally was outside of my hands. There was an activist investor on board, lots of global uncertainty, tariffs, like all this stuff coming at you. So I'd survived 9 bosses in 6 years and multiple rifts. And this final one got me. And so I think, to me, a comeback doesn't mean you were defeated. Comeback means you were knocked down. And
Yeah.
a year ago, I was knocked down, and I didn't know what the future would hold. But there's something about kind of this being my second chapter or third chapter, however you want to look at it, like, of my professional career. And so, anyways, that meaning, that comeback hospitality, or some version keying off of that word comeback, I think is potentially interesting. So,
Yeah.
okay, you've heard
Yeah.
you've heard my pitch. Now, again, all I sent to Micah was like a text, like "come back hospitality." So this is the first time he's literally hearing this. But
Yeah, he's
okay, with
he's pitching me on live air.
yeah. So what do you got? Shark Tank style. Do you hate it? Do you
I
love it? Or should we keep trying? What do you think?
don't like the word comeback, and for that reason, I'm out. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. So
No.
no, so I mean, I love it. It's a great story. I think it's important to mention that the property that we're buying is, I believe, the second oldest property in all of Page. It's across the street from City Hall. Back when they were making lodging for the government employees to stay and build out the dam, they
Mhm.
stayed at this property. So there's a level of history that this property has, and I would love to redeem or make a comeback story for the property. Speaking to a lot of people who have been around Page for a long time, they're all familiar with the property because
Yep.
it's one of the oldest hotels in town.
Yep.
So I love it for that reason. I love it because even if we go to other properties, our goal is 3 hotels in 5 years, and we're looking for properties that are a little bit dilapidated or run down and need
Yeah.
some TLC to turn into another boutique hotel. So this works not only on this project, but for other projects to come as well.
And I like to, real quick. I was listening to a podcast the other day at the gym. So again, yeah, I went to the gym again. Try 3 days a
good for
week.
you.
Let's go. Hold
Nice,
myself
nice.
accountable just by
You
talking
got it.
about it, dude. But I was listening to Bashar Wali of this assembly, who's just
Yeah,
an incredible mind in this field. Started listening to podcasts where he's a host and reading some of his LinkedIn blogs. And I sent you the one the other day. Like
yeah,
he wants to like abolish or maybe ban the 11 a.m. checkout and rather grant 24 hours from whenever you show up at the
yep,
hotel. So he has
yep,
some really counterintuitive ideas, but he likes to kind of disrupt the old guard for better guest experiences and just a better version of hospitality. And, anyways, he was talking about authenticity being the definition of an unapologetic point of view.
yep,
And he talked about hotel investors, kind of classifying them. He says, you're one of three things when you buy a hotel. You're either a core investor, so it just says we're going to buy the Four Seasons in Boston and just let the market do its thing, but it's already the
right,
Four Seasons. We
right,
can't make it any better. Or you're a value add. I think that's probably us, right?
yep,
Going and buying something and making it better, either through operations or adding rooms or something. Or there's opportunistic. And it might actually be us, maybe a combo of value add or opportunistic, but it's it's coming up with a new vision and a new identity, a new way forward for a property. And again, with more risk comes more reward, but also juicier investor returns. And I think that's
yeah,
part of our story, honestly, and what makes this deal kind of stand out from maybe thousands of other deals and offerings that are live right now on Crexy and LoopNet. Again, we're buying it off market. There is such a cool history and context to this. And if we can pull off our vision and really transform, I mean, we can 2x, 3x, maybe 4x the performance of this hotel.
absolutely.
To me, that's a good comeback story. Remember, we've also been turned down by 50 plus lenders because they're going, this thing's lost money the last 3 years.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
again, like in another universe where Mike and Adam don't take this down, they're probably just going to turn it into a Radisson or something. Somebody's
yeah,
going to turn this around into just yet another generic hotel and just
yeah.
offer heads in beds. But I think there's an opportunity to make America a little bit more beautiful by enriching, preserving, and restoring something that was great.
Yeah, I mean, I love that. And you're right. We have faced adversity on several fronts. I mean, you mentioned your professional career. We mentioned if we go to the banks, raising money. I mean, you name it, we've probably faced a little bit of adversity. So some form of comeback or redemption sounds great. What word that is,
Yep.
I have
Yep.
no idea. But whatever word we come across, maybe it's comeback. I don't know. But whatever word we can agree on that can really just signify that not only have we faced the adversity, but we found a way to come out kind of successful on the other side. I think that that really tells our story and it really speaks to kind of our journey up until this point of just dealing with things and being able to navigate some things that we know how and some things that we need to learn on the fly and get past. So no, I mean I love that. Maybe a different word, I don't know, but
All
I love the
right.
comeback
Okay.
story.
LL Cool J over here. Don't call it a comeback. Literally,
Philly,
right now,
Philly
he's gone. Like
is
your idea, bro. Just need another word. All right.
I'm
I'll
trying
hit
to
I'll hit the thesaurus, man.
I'm trying to lay it on you soft, but I
This man
mean,
is
you're
out.
right. I mean, the under Philly is known for the underdog story, and my 4-0 Philadelphia Eagles,
Oh, brutal, brutal.
we definitely live by that underdog story. No matter if we're the number one seed or not, we love a good underdog story. So I think it fits, and I think we will come up with um something that
Yep. Yep.
definitely shows that. So
I'm with you.
um
I'm with you, man.
we
Yep.
we've been talking for a while, a lot. We talked about OpCo, we've talked about HoldCo, we've talked about names and branding and the importance of branding. We haven't even mentioned like a color scheme or like just
Oh
kind
yeah.
of a font and getting into that type of thing for more marketability and like catching viewers' eyes, especially when you go on social media. The way your name, if you just have it in Times New Roman, it'll probably get looked over. But having a custom font or a font that it can catch the eye is also things that we need to kind of think largely about, or turn that over to somebody who really specializes in branding that can help us get
That's right.
our brand forward. So, is there anything else that you can think of that it will be good to talk about during this episode? Do you think we kind of reached a good stopping point? I'm open to both.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we're good. Again, today's episode, I want to talk about branding and identity
Yeah,
and what's in a name.
yeah, for sure.
And I think again, whether you've got marketing background at all or no marketing experience, I
Yeah,
think,
yeah,
people can throw out names and see what fits and feels right. There's so
yeah,
much of this that is, let's call it scientific or kind of data driven. So we're literally in spreadsheets like every single day. And
yeah,
what does the math say? What do the trends say? What does demand look like? So there's a very analytical part to this game. I think it's kind of fun, quite frankly, to get on the
yeah,
other side of your
yeah,
brain and start trying to put on your creative hat and seeing what just feels right. And what's the energy and emotion and feeling we want our guests to have? And what's the feeling that we want to have, as
yeah,
owners of kind of this first hotel or maybe a collection of hotels. So anyways, I think yeah, we could talk about this for hours, but I think that's a
yeah,
that's
for
a good
sure.
ending point to say you don't need to do all of this alone. I think we mentioned this in one of our very first episodes. Commercial is a team sport. So
Yep,
cool, you've got one Airbnb, you've got four, you've got 10, maybe you have a VA, maybe you don't. Um, to me, Airbnb, the game was pretty lonely. And I think that's what pulled me into STR Secrets originally was like, oh, there's a community of hosts doing the same thing that I am, that I can ask questions with. Because in my own community, if I just walk out to a soccer practice or to a birthday party, no one's doing what I'm doing. I'm the weird
yeah,
Airbnb guy. But now that we're pivoting to the world of commercial space, boutique hotels, like it's pretty sexy. It's pretty cool to say that you might be owning a hotel.
yep.
Um, but again, me trying to come up with a custom font, me trying to come up with a design palette or a color scheme, like forget about it. Like we
Forget about it.
this is why we're partnering with professionals, right? And
Yeah, for sure.
so I think whatever skill set you have, whatever hats you want to wear, there are hats and skills and strengths that you don't have that you need to go find. And so I think if anyone's feeling overwhelmed at any point in the project, whether it's construction and renovation, whether it's revenue management, whether it's your initial design and branding and identity, help is available. There are
Yep,
professionals in this space that would love
yep,
to support you. So, anyways, I don't think we're going to necessarily plug anyone specifically. Again, we're working with Courtney Petrovich, but I know there's lots and lots of great brands out there getting that are deep into the hospitality space. So, anyways, and we could check with our coaches as well, Rashmi, Joel, Isaac, Mike Sjogren, and others. Can very quickly pull out a Rolodex of trusted people that have great portfolios in the past and maybe have some passion for the future. But at the end of the day, I think it's going to be a case by case basis. There's going to be some chemistry and fit conversations, and anyways, I guess the final point here is you don't got to go it alone. So,
yeah.
Micah, how about you? Anything else you want to leave this podcast with?
No, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head. This is a team sport, and it's all about finding the right partners for you. Just because somebody can do what you need them to do doesn't mean they're the right partner for you. So I think part of finding people to work with is finding the people that work well and kind of offset your weaknesses. They may be stronger at one thing than the other. The thing that comes to mind immediately is you're a career optimist. You see the best in everything and everybody, and I need that sometimes because I've learned that I'm probably a career pessimist, and I start with like negative thoughts, and I need to be proven otherwise before I'm like all in for something. So it just it works in that way.
Yeah.
When things go bad, you always kind of channel the positivity and you kind of put the best foot forward. So I think we do really well with bouncing off one another. So to circle back and repeat what I said, finding the right partner
Yeah.
is probably the biggest decision you can make in this industry.
Love it, man. All right. Well, appreciate you. All the, hey, you got to rain on my sunshine sometimes, but it's warranted, by the way. So, anyways, I'm grateful to be on this journey with you, brother. So, really
Absolutely.
appreciate everything that you do
Same here.
every day for us. So,
Same here.
thank you, and thank you, listeners, for tuning in. So, with that, that's the pod.